Good Friday afternoon to everybody. Evening.
Hey.
We're here again. Yet another
Yes,
Friday.
we are.
And if you don't know who we are, my name is Darren. This over here to this side is Victor. I got it right this time. And we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. I was taking my watch off. I don't know why I didn't take it off before. And we do this live thing on Fridays to talk about all the things. And we have one of our regulars here, Vladislav. Thank you for being here with us. And everybody else here. We've got Jorg. I hope I got that right. I did a live stream yesterday with one of my coworkers, and I didn't know everybody's names that were coming in. And I was like, boy, these are hard. Like one was EVA. Is it Ava or Eva? Because both are could be correct. So I like it when the names are a little more clear. But anyway, with everything that's been going on this week, I didn't think there was going to be any news to talk about. And last night, the floodgates opened.
What happened last
Amazingly.
night?
Well, nothing in particular, but all of a sudden, I just started finding things everywhere. So that was good.
Good.
But and you've already started drinking. I'm guessing you have water in that. I have my, or what do you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Water. I'm disappointing myself.
Because it's plain. At least my water is fizzy, right? I'm partying
Plain
hard.
water. I think I'm getting sick.
So you're
That's a sign of weakness.
No, it's not. It just means your body's fighting off something. So the podcast that we did this week was episode 102, and it was about Open Policy Agent. I actually listened to it on my walk this morning. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I listened to it as well yesterday. It was good, yeah.
Because I think it actually makes sense because I have zero hands-on with OPA. So the questions I was asking, I wasn't trying to be a shill or anything. It's like I honestly just didn't know. And just trying to understand RBAC. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been hands-on with Kubernetes. I'll just say it out loud. And that's going to be changing over the next couple of weeks. But it's like, okay, trying to keep straight. Okay, what do I need to do? What do I not need to do? So it was.
So do you feel after listening it that you have a better grasp of what it is?
Yes, I do. Even though I was one of the ones talking on it, I was like, oh man, this was pretty good. Oh wait, we did this. It was just weird. It was weird. Let's just get into the news because there's a lot today. And there are a couple of things that I want to call out. When we get to the eksctl thing, I want you to realize how crazy or how important it is to do really good documentation to help people understand what it is that you ship. Just when we get there, I'll call it out. Let me go ahead and add this up. So Kubernetes 121 out officially yesterday. Now, we talked about it last week. Sysdig did their normal big what's new. And, of course, we stole that name for the stream for last week. But now it's shipped. And nothing real surprising here. We already knew that cron jobs is now GA. Only took 13 releases for it to go GA. Or to stable, right? Out of beta to stable. I call it GA. And then immutable secrets and config maps. I didn't even catch that one. I guess I hadn't really thought about that much.
Yeah, simply you cannot change secrets and config maps if you make them immutable.
Shouldn't that be the default?
That should be the... I mean, in ideal situation, yeah, but realistically, it happens that you want to change some config somewhere and you cannot really just delete the config map and then create a new one.
Yeah. This is one of the items going to beta that I like. All the hooks now are in the right place. Because
exactly.
the notifications weren't being bubbled up. And this at least gives you a better fighting chance to
do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking is, even if you had a graceful node shutting down, it just wasn't not populating, being sent on correctly to the pod. And it would always try to reschedule, but it didn't always make it. So anyway, and there's a lot of other things here. It's now official. Links, as always, will be down below after today. I will get the links out because there will be probably a couple of things in today's show that you'll want to go look at quickly.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, and then finally also PSP deprecation. We already knew that. If you're still using them, that's great. Yeah, go ahead and get rid of it. You've got basically a year's worth of releases to get rid of it. So.
Yeah. And
that's all we're going to spend on that for today. Let me move to the next one. Now, this was a head scratcher for me. Docker Desktop 3.3 came out yesterday, and how updates work. And I saw a question from a person that you and I both know, asking, what is Docker's business model now? And one of the answers was, well, they're focusing on Docker Desktop and Docker Hub, which I believe is true.
Makes sense. I would do that as well if I would be them.
But one of the things that was here was you may want to skip an update. Well, right now, the only people that can skip it are people that are paying.
I went through that article or page like 3 times.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, okay, what is in this update? And I can understand that that's the only thing that they are releasing, right? The way how to skip updates if you are a paying user. To me, that sounds like so ridiculous, to be honest, that, hey, if the only thing that you can come up with to charge people money is to give me money and I will annoy you less with updates, pop-ups, then there's something terribly wrong with that. I cannot imagine who made the decision to allow people to skip updates only if they pay.
I've lost words for this, and I'm not the only one, based on some other things that I saw overnight or this morning when I got up. I'm not arguing the point, but it's weird. Now, on the upside, though, is they're getting closer to supporting Apple Silicon.
Amazing.
Which is good. Because
it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but I'm still scratching my head on right here. If I want to skip, I have to pay.
I mean, it's you can, whenever we comment on some open source charging something, I'm always in favor of charging. I think that people need to earn money in order to be dedicated to a project. I'm fully in favor of charging companies to use enterprise features on top of open source. I was never in doubt of that. But you cannot have such a stupid feature as something that you're charging for. It's one day, somebody is going to come up with the way how to run containers in Mac and Windows. Windows, you can already run containers with WSL. Somebody is going to figure out how to run containers in Mac, and that will be the end of it. If they continue like this.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Docker people. I know many of you. I'm sorry I'm negative, but this is silly.
Okay. Let's move on to something maybe a little less silly. Argo CD2. Now, I also saw Workflows came out a week before last, I believe, too. So Argo is now on a cadence of releasing fast and furious.
Yes, the project, the main motivation, I mean, not the main motivation behind the release, but they're working very, very hard to graduate the project in CNCF. And so everybody is working 110%. And this is a big release, really big. It's not necessarily, shouldn't necessarily be called 2.0 because it's not really, it is backwards compatible. So it's more like marketing stunt for becoming graduated, but nevertheless, it's some amazing features. Image updated, the one you just passed is my favorite.
Right here?
Yeah, it's something that existed in Flux before, and now we're getting it in Argo CD. Basically, it monitors your registry with images, and then whenever you change a tag that follows a certain pattern, it will update your Git repo with that new tag, so that Argo CD deploys it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you don't need to manipulate in your CI/CD pipelines or whatever you're using. You don't need to be pushing changes to Git. You can just push new images to registry, and then Argo CD image updater will do the changes in your Git repo.
So the only thing that you have to be careful of is tagging your images correctly.
Yes, but assuming that we are doing all those things through pipelines, and I know that I'm assuming too much, but then it's just about creating a pattern. It's not really a big deal. Now, if you're doing it manually, then you're in for a ride. You're going to make a mistake, and then you're going to cry.
I thought the I'm confusing this with something else. We'll get to that. I'm thinking eksctl still, so we'll get to there in a minute. So anyway, Argo CD, and I said workflows was it last week? Last week or week before last? I almost put that in. It's recent as well.
Short while ago, yes.
Actually here, because it was still showing on, there's Argo CD, there's workflows. It was on the 2nd, so it was last week.
Yeah.
So, and it also follows the same naming scheme. It went to 3.0.
Yeah, everything is all the releases of Argo projects are increasing the major.
All right. Mesos being shipped to the attic finally.
What is attic?
So it's the attic for Apache. So basically that means it's abandoned. My word, not anybody else's word. So it's like end of life. So attic that's where things go to be memorialized. You don't have an attic in your house. Think of it like
we don't have houses here.
Oh, I know. But you have a closet where things, or a drawer, where you put things in the drawer and they keep migrating to the very back of the drawer. And eventually, you forget about it. That's what the attic is.
Yeah. I mean, you took me by surprise because I thought that it is in the attic or that it's abandoned already for years. I'm kind of surprised that it took them so long to acknowledge that.
Well, and if you read this whole thread, there is some back and forth of, well, wait, what are you talking about? This was, I think it was this one from Rich. So there seems to be some even confusion about this. So eventually it goes on and blah, blah, blah. But it's an interesting thing. So the way I read this and the way that a lot of other people have read this is just, Mesos is done.
Yeah, it's official now.
Yeah. Well, the vote is official. So they're looking, again, you have to read the whole thing, and I have not read the whole thing since 2 days ago. But anyway, Mesos.
I mean, there are people who are using Mesos and in big companies and will continue using Mesos for years to come. But no new users are coming to it. It's like mainframe.
I actually saw an interesting, I'm glad you brought up mainframe. I saw an interesting article, maybe it was today, about where there's a resurgence in mainframes for certain types of workloads that classical transaction processing. I don't have that in front of me. I'd pull it up, but it was an interesting article. Don't count mainframes out is basically what it said.
Yeah, I mean, everything that was ever introduced in a data center lives forever. Nothing ever goes away.
Yeah, but they're talking about new use cases for it, which was the interest. That was the angle.
That's a fantasy land. I mean, of course, there are companies who benefit from sell some services around mainframe. They're going to come up with something, but it's similar like new use cases for Swarm when Mirantis bought it. And we all knew that there are no new use cases. That was the end game, right? Still, Mirantis is going to develop something every once in a while to postpone people moving away.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why. I know why we went down that route, but let's get off that route. Gitpod, one of your favorite places.
Yes, I like Gitpod.
They took on a $13 million round. And the story was interesting. I need to find it right here. It was under the funding. So they didn't need to raise money and didn't plan for it. But then Steve Herod, who's one of the people at General Catalyst, reached out. The first thing he mentioned during our initial call was that he spent the night before configuring and automating his Python environment with Gitpod. When you have a VC, number one, using your product, number two, understanding what a Python environment is, you might want to talk.
Exactly. I'm blown away that actually there is a VC still who does those things. In a very positive way, surprised,
Yeah.
not negative.
I know a few. But anyway, congrats to Gitpod.
Well done. Well done.
Okay. So we're at the eksctl part. I'm going to bring this up. Now, new version of eksctl came out 2 days ago. And initially, I was not going to put this in the notes for today because there were only two features. This was it, 2 items. Add support for EC2 instance selector and add support for dry run. I figured, there's no reason to really talk about this. But then, eksctl now supports creating node groups using resource specifications in dry run. Okay, so dry run, easy. EC2 instance selector, resource specifications. So I had to read a little bit more. So now, what that EC2, what does it even say? I forgot now. EC2 instance selector, what does that mean? Now, instead of specifying instance types, you just say, how many vCPUs, memory, or GPUs do you want?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I would not, EC2 instance selector?
I would not have guessed it.
I would not have guessed it. So it gets down to this point, and they go into this second paragraph. AWS recommends using multiple instance types when using spot nodes for EKS cluster, right? If you're going to be using spot nodes, you got to deal with that. Previously, you had to manually select instance types. Now you can simply pass the number of vCPUs, memory, or GPUs required for the nodes. eksctl will then create the node group with instance types that closely match the resource specs. This doesn't change EKS, but it changed how EKS is provisioned, which is actually more important, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, what EKS does behind the scenes shouldn't be much of a concern.
Shouldn't care. But now you don't even have to specify instance types. You just need to define what you want your maximum cluster size, I guess would be the right way to say it, to be. Capacity, I guess, is better than size.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. That's really nice.
So, and we don't have anybody on the inside at EKS. Actually, I think you know a couple of people that work on this, right, from Weaveworks. Have you talked to any of those people about this?
Not lately.
Okay. Good job. Whoever thought this one up, this is super cool. Because always trying to figure out, like, you want to do an R5 something because you want memory versus M's, which you want just general usage. Well, now you don't really care, and especially if you're running on Spot.
Exactly. Why would you? You don't really. When you're creating a cluster, you want to think about memory and CPU, not about instance types. That should be the problem of a vendor. Ideally, you shouldn't think about memory and CPU either, but that would be a next step.
Yep. It's on the AWS site. They're fully backing. Well, I mean, they've been backing this since it's been the official CLI. They don't even try to use the AWS CLI for EKS. So.
Yeah. Even if you go to AWS trainings, tutorials, whatever related with EKS, it's always eksctl as the first option.
Yeah.
And CloudFormation and the rest is second, third, fourth.
Why would you want to hand roll your own CloudFormation to create EKS instances?
There could be a good reason would be that you might want a uniform way to manage AWS in general, and not AWS except EKS and then EKS something completely different, right?
Yeah.
And when I say CloudFormation, that applies or Terraform or Ansible or whatever you're using. That's the main argument, I guess, against eksctl.
Right. Okay. Waypoint 0.3 came out. Did you notice it has your favorite word in it? Where's my mouse?
What is my favorite word?
GitOps.
GitOps. Haha. Oh. That's nice.
Do I know what you're going to be working on this weekend now?
Yes, I'm putting it in my to do right away. Talk. I'm gonna be away for half a minute.
Okay. So that one was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. Lambda, okay, no big deal. I'm glad they're covering that as a specific implementation. But now you can actually have what they define as runners that are remote. So that means Waypoint is now a brain. And it's got the ability to go and tell other things what to do.
Yeah.
It's not just the brains and the hands anymore. It's now decoupled that.
Yeah, I guess runners is the key over there.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that was a requirement for GitOps as well.
Yeah. That was probably what built it to what runners had to exist in order for this to work. So,
but that's the thing. That's the strength of HashiCorp, right? It's no secret that I wasn't really impressed with Waypoint. I did not see the point of using Waypoint. Oh, that rhymes. But they do that all the time. They start with something that is very unimpressive, and they build and they build and they build until it becomes awesome. Waypoint reminds me a lot on my initial impressions of Terraform. I think I started using it shortly after it was released, and I was like, come on, who would ever use this compared to Ansible at the time? And now I cannot imagine going back to Ansible. For cloud.
For cloud, yeah. And do you remember when you actually made that decision? Around 0.8, probably?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay.
But when you said, hey, it has everything I need.
Right. And this is starting to get to that point with Waypoint.
Yeah, I'm afraid it will take a bit more, but yes.
Right. It's correct direction. Okay. Cool tools of the week. We talked about Cosigned, right? Cosigned was part of the three things that, what were the other two? Oh, come on. I'm drawing a blank.
Remember.
I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, Cosigned was one of the three things from whatever. This is Cosigned. It's an emission controller to verify images have been signed by Cosigned. This
Me
gets
like
back to
it.
OPA, right? This could be an OPA use case.
Yes. I mean, in general, I like the idea of admission controllers because it removes the need for people to script everything in their processes, pipelines, what's not, right? So if I have option one, option A, I have a pipeline and then I need, among other things, to check whether it's signed, right? Option B is to forget about it because when it reaches the cluster, it will tell me whether it's not signed. And option B sounds like easier thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that applies not only to signing, to almost everything, right?
Yeah.
I like that we are moving towards clusters, deciding whether something is worthy or acceptable.
Yep. So anyway, this is a specific admission controller that was created. You could do this with OPA as well if you already had OPA in place. Probably, right? There would have to be some way
probably.
to,
You could.
because all you're doing is looking for a signature. Now, what it does specifically, I don't know. I didn't dig into it that far. But anyway, if you're using Cosigned to sign your images, and now you want to make sure that images, when they get deployed, are actually signed, and you don't want to go to OPA yet, here's a specific use case or a specific implementation to cover just that one thing. I'll call it that. All right.
Yep.
Moving on. fselect. This is not new. This is actually pretty old, I think. Yeah, it's like months old. I sort of laughed. So it's fselect. So it's being able to find files with SQL-like queries. How often do you have files on your file system and you're trying to do a ls-l pipe to grep, do a blah, 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 blah,
Oh, yeah.
right? This allows you to, whatever, like obviously we do a podcast. I could search by MP3 info. So I've got a folder of things. Well, if I tag all of our MP3s before they get uploaded, that's got everything in it, I could just search the files. And now you have to have Rust if we were doing it from source, but if you're on a Mac or Windows, there are binaries. You can get it through Brew, whatever, right? So it's all normal. And it follows pretty much a standard thing. It also gives you interactive. So here's an example of find temporary or config files. So select size path from /home user where name is star.config or name equals star.temp. And then you wait.
That's nice. I like it. Me like it.
It's and then they are like, I'm only halfway down the list and they have a lot of examples. So file by date. I mean, this is never ending for me, I think. Oh, and you can also, only zip archives are supported, so, but you can search within archives as well. So you got your zips, then off you go. So anyway, long list.
Nice.
And that is that. So fselect. I think this next one's, this was the other one that I really liked this week. And this one is also Rust and also not very new, but is being updated. The last release was 8 days ago. How many of you do Control-R to go through your history? I've got that muscle memory right now. I do Control-R and then type the first couple of characters and then I start going through. Here, I type it and then I get a list. And then I can go through and select. So I don't have to rotate through.
Okay, so you type, okay, it goes through history. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's very similar to what ZSH with my ZSH does, right?
It can, but only if you've created it to work that way.
Yeah,
that's not out of the box, right? So I don't have that rule set built in mind.
Yeah.
So But yes, it could be done. But I thought this was cool. And McFly is
It
always...
is.
Anytime I see something that relates back to the Future, I'll take it.
I was about to ask, is that McFly? Okay, that's a
Yeah.
reference probably. Yeah, cool.
Now, well, I'm assuming it is just because I'm going with the name, but
Check the age of the people. If they are all kids of 20-something, then it's not.
no, a lot of them are much older than that. A few of them
Okay.
appear to be, but anyway.
Then it is.
I was trying to find why the name. That's the one thing I didn't check out. Settings, Vim, fuzzy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I don't see anything here. Or I'm going too fast. Oh, you can also fix iTerm too. Interesting. And there, you can also tie it in with ZSH and fish. Interesting. Okay, so I'll probably be installing this one later today. I was hoping to get it done before now, but do you realize how long it takes to render videos on just a 4-core box?
I don't want to know.
A long time.
No.
It's more than 1-to-1. I'll put it that way. It's been my machine was tied up today. I didn't want to mess it up. Okay, so Kubesploit. I saw this one, and I wasn't as wowed by Kubesploit as I was what they built, how they built it, which was on top of Merlin. I'm not going to dig into Merlin at all, but it's very, very interesting.
What is Merlin? I'm
So, okay, you're gonna
educated
take me
here.
there. Okay, here we go. So Merlin is a cross-platform post-exploitation HTTP2 command and control server. Basically, this is for hacking.
Okay.
Or not solely hacking, but, excuse me. Oh, nose is opening up again today. What is it with live streams and all of a sudden my sinuses opening up? This gives you the ability to fuzz all the other things. This is meant for, I'm not calling it hacking, pen testing is what I was looking for. Penetration testing and keeping it go from there. So this was built on top of that. And this was actually open sourced by CyberArk. Yes, that CyberArk.
Okay.
The credentials people. And they had 2 tools already, Kubescam and Kubelet Cuddle. And now they've gone something that's even more heavy lifting. What I would like to do is, so there's only a handful of modules, container breakout using mounting, container breakout using Docker sock, using this CVE in case you hadn't patched your cluster. So it's not very deep right now, but it could go a lot further.
Yeah.
This would be interesting to mix this with take your pick of chaos tooling and have them going at the same time. Right? That would be, but the purpose of this was it can run all the time. Much like a well-oiled chaos tool would also be running all the time. Now they already have a dedicated Kubernetes environment in Katacoda so you can test with it. So you don't even have to stand up something yourself. So it looks pretty interesting.
Nice.
And they go through the whole MITRE attack vector thing too. So, and this is new-ish. Yeah, less than 2 weeks old. So
You are picking them up fast.
what do you mean?
Discovering projects.
Do you want to know my secret?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you. I gotta save some things.
That's okay. No, I don't want you to tell me because then I have excuse that you need to figure it out because I don't know how.
Yeah. Okay. This one, I'm scratching my head on, so I'm going to lean on you for this one. Helm-changelog. Create changelog for Helm charts based on the Git history. Now, am I just not getting it? Or, I don't know.
So it kind of updates if I read the second sentence or second paragraph, it bumps the version in chart YAML depending on the commit.
Right.
Okay. Saves you from doing sed command. Why not?
I mean, that's it, right? I mean, that's what it feels like.
That's what the description says. I haven't used it yet.
Well, here's some examples, so let's take a look at it. So let's take, what do you want to see?
Any.
Let's do Prometheus Kafka. So use helm test hooks. Okay. 0.21. Where are we at? Oh, that was the new one. Okay.
Okay, so it gives you the diff. It's not about bumping version only. It gives you the diff.
Okay. Since
That's
the last
nice.
one. Since the
That's
last one,
nice.
right? Okay, let's reread
Yes,
it now that we have
probably.
some information. On the assumption.
Because the first sentence says that create change logs for Helm charts.
Right.
And then the second talks about bumping the version. And that gets confusing from there on.
Right. So basically, it's grouped as commits for the next release until the version number's bumped again. So it's keeping track somehow or another. Okay, now it makes more sense. I hadn't looked at the examples. Okay.
So it basically gives you the unified diff of the commits that led to a release.
Okay.
Yeah, well, nice.
And it's just an ongoing changelog. Well, yeah. Let's see if there was another one that looks more interesting. Let's do regular Prometheus since it's right there. So a nice little call out there. There's the changes. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Something different. I'm actually going to flip it around here. You talked Helmfile on Thursday.
Yes.
Why?
Why Helmfile? Because I don't remember. Yes. The answer is very simple. Somebody asked in the comments of the videos, how about Helmfile? And I did a video. Basically, almost all the videos I do now is somebody asked in a comment. And I think that Helmfile is awesome. Actually, I think that Helmfile was awesome until we got Flux and Argo CD, and now I'm not sure that I see the point in it. I'm not very good at marketing. I should say it's absolutely awesome. Everybody go watch it. But realistically, I think it's something that solved real problems with Helm. And then we got Argo CD and Flux, and it's obsolete in a way.
It's obsolete if you're not using Argo and Flux, or Argo or Flux.
It's obsolete if you are using Argo.
If you are using Argo Flux, right? I said
yes.
backwards.
I mean, not really obsolete because there are many features in Helmfile, but that's also bothering me a bit. It's pushing the limits of what should be done in YAML, right? It just goes too far with YAML. If you look at the syntax for applying a template that is less than asterisk, and then I don't know, kind of, it's trying to make YAML into programming language, and it's just going too far. But the capabilities of Helmfile are amazing. I cannot deny that.
But if you're using Argo or Flux,
Yeah, for making releases. Now, Argo and Flux will not give you all the bells and whistles of Helmfile, but the main purpose of Helmfile, if you look only at the main purpose, and that is to create the releases of your applications in plural, meaning you're not really treating applications as a single entity, but grouping them together, what's or not, then yes, Flux and Argo CD do a better job.
Okay. And the actually earlier video in the week was K3D. Are you going to ever make a decision on what local Kubernetes cluster to run?
I made the decision. It's K3D. Just as last week I made, just like 2 weeks ago, I made the decision. It's kind. So the real question is, will I change my decision again? Of course. Isn't that the point of playing around with tech?
some days. Why did you make that decision? Why K3D over
I think
Kind?
that the K3D and Kind are the same. I don't see a big difference, except that the cluster that runs inside of K3D, which is K3S, is much more lightweight. So the only substantial difference between the two, I mean, of course, there are tiny differences, but the real one is that it's much lighter. That means that it starts faster, like 3, 4, 5 times faster than Kind. And it uses less of my resources on my laptop, on my desktop, actually. So faster and lighter. If you don't care about those two things, then Kind is just as good as K3D.
Now, you did say in the video that one was closer to real life than the other.
Yes, so this is K3S, basically. It's not, I mean, K3S is Kubernetes. I was about to say it's not Kubernetes. It is Kubernetes, but K3S is designed to be small so that it runs well on edge computing, right? On IoT and what's not, devices. And then if you need some heavy testing, maybe local testing, what will happen if you upgrade your production from version 119 to version 120, what's not, and Kind is a better option, right? But most people don't care about those things. Most people are running local Kubernetes cluster so they can deploy the application that they're developing. And in those cases, K3S is just as good as whatever they're packing in Kind.
Right. Okay. That was a lot.
Yeah. You were right, there was a lot of news.
There was one that I left off, and we can talk about it. I won't pull anything up specifically about it, but the Supreme Court in the United States ruled against Oracle in favor of Google over the Java API thing that's been ongoing for years.
Okay.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. I wasn't aware that that's still ongoing. I know that it started a long time ago, so it took years, right?
Yeah, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, I believe, because now it's APIs are APIs. If something is published as a public API, in theory, you don't care what the implementation is.
Yeah. To me, that always sounded like a silly stunt. I felt that Oracle never even thought that they would win that one. It was more, I don't know, like doing nasty stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But it goes now that everything is API driven. Back then, sure, there were APIs, but it wasn't life-changing. If that same type of litigation was to begin today, like if now was that, I mean, think about how everything is API driven today. I mean, it would be insane. I mean, so I don't even know how to explain it. If somebody decided to re-implement the Kubernetes API to do something different, would that be down the same path or not? I don't know.
But today we are much better at defining licenses and understanding what is the license of a project, right? When Oracle bought Java, that was still early times for open source. They bought open source and then they converted it in not open source, and now we don't know what it is, right? I don't think that would be even that. I cannot say it wouldn't be possible, but doing something like what Oracle did with Java today with, let's say, Kubernetes or some popular open source project would be close to impossible.
Well, if lawyers are involved, nothing's impossible.
Yeah, but every kind of if you go right now to, let's say, Kubernetes repo, right? There's probably thousands of forks of Kubernetes. Now, none of those forks are probably made with the intention to fork it permanently. It's with the intention to create a pull request back. But basically, if Kubernetes now changes the license, any of those forks are completely legally outside of that license.
Okay. How many forks?
27,000.
27,000. Let's see if it gives us
Yeah.
a tighter number. Yeah, 27.6.
Exactly. And doesn't matter who changes the license right now. What would happen actually if somebody would change license of Kubernetes? I would predict that within a week, half of the world will be crying out. The second week, we would already have a body that represents a new fork of Kubernetes where everybody would move to contribute.
Yep.
And of course, now what I'm saying is ignoring the fact that Kubernetes is in CNCF, so that wouldn't be possible in the first place.
Oh, that's true. Because Java didn't exist that way.
Yeah, it was just Sun made it free.
Yep. And the other thing that I saw this week is now Microsoft is baking their own version of OpenJDK. They're going back to that again. After the last time Microsoft had a JVM or JDK was, what was it called? J++. That's what it was called, J++. That was 1999.
Oh, man.
And they got out of that business in 2001, somewhere in there. So anyway, Java's still around. It's not going anywhere.
And it will not go anywhere anytime soon. I mean, I very often say nasty things about Java, but Java changed how programming works, and Java is here to stay, and Java is good. Not necessarily preferable, loved by everybody, but there is no language that got as far as Java.
JavaScript?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, I still see JavaScript as a toy. I don't know. It's me, probably.
It is you,
But
I think.
seriously, as a language, kind of like, we're not talking about frameworks that you run on top of JavaScript and what's not. But JavaScript, the language itself, is just silly. There you go. I said it in public. It's a silly language. Now, it's a language that was made awesome through infinite number of frameworks running on top of it that try to circumvent the silliness of JavaScript. But JavaScript itself is just a silly language.
I'm not going to argue against you on that. I think a lot of people will argue against you on that, but that's okay.
I mean, show me a person who will argue against me and uses and writes JavaScript directly. Just JavaScript. Forget about React and this and that. JavaScript. Is there such a person today?
No. That same argument could be made for Java as well.
I can do a lot with Java without Hibernate and what Spring. Let's say Spring, right? Spring would be. I mean, it's not that nobody writes Java. Just yes, many people like Spring. Excellent. That's a framework on top of Java. And by the way, it doesn't even change much how Java works.
Right. Okay, let's not go down the sad path there. I need to stay happy. I have a lot more to do today. I don't need to get down in the dumps. So obviously, I gave you one of your new things to do for next week, and that'll be Waypoint.
Yes.
So that may or may not be next week, but
it's not going to be next week because I already know what's next week. But it might be the week after next. I might be working on it next week.
Right. What else do you have going on? You've got. I saw that. Let me pull it up here. The CD Foundation announced their. I just saw that come through. Actually, I knew about it, but I'd forgotten about it. The what do you call those things? Conferences.
Yeah, CDF is today and yesterday. I think that I received like 50 emails from CDF from different sources. So they're doing a lot of marketing. But yes, there is CDF, and I think that there are two day zero summits. One for GitOps and one for what's the name? One of the founding products.
That's what
My mind stopped.
Spinnaker.
Spinnaker, yes.
I'm trying to find, where is that? Okay, here. It's got to be on the homepage.
It's
Give me a
probably
second.
in the homepage, yeah.
Here, we'll go here. That's the register. That's still not it. Where is the breakdown here?
I don't know, Google
I
CD
don't remember.
Foundation.
That's where I'm at. Oh, here we go.
I'm never trying to find things from website. I just look for
it's-
everything in Google.
Yeah, okay, well. All right, so anyway, here's the GitOps Summit, which
Yep.
that's a 1 day in front of everything else. And handful of people already there. And then the Spinnaker one is roughly the same time. And then we actually have the CDCon, which is the big one
Yep.
happening at the
The
same
next day, yep.
Yeah, and I saw that you were like, what was your role in this? You were like a.
I'm in both.
Yeah, but you actually
have
had
a-
you had a title or something.
Title?
Yeah, you had a title for what you were doing. Hang on a second. If I can find it. Hang on. Yeah, you were called a program something something something. Programs ready.
Maybe.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, you're the program committee. You're part of the program committee. Did you know that?
Yes, I knew that. Yes. I didn't know that that's public. Yeah, but yes.
Yeah, it's all right. So here I can grab the. Give me a second, and I'll pull it up over here. It's on the blog. I knew I'd read it somewhere. So here's the blog post that just came out yesterday. Today's the 9th, and there's the conference programs, how the speakers were selected, program committee, and da da da. There's your name.
Yeah, that's me.
Good. A few stats: 190 talks were submitted, accepted 100. Have 124 speakers, 1,700 already registered, 500 this week. So
Nice.
there's
It's
all-
growing. It's really growing.
Yeah. What is it about GitOps Summit that excites you?
I don't know. I didn't check the program yet. And that's being said by the person in the program committee. I know that there is one talk that is going to be amazing.
Oh, the one you're doing on combining
Exactly.
progressive delivery?
Exactly.
Okay. GitOps, yay, nay. Again, this is just a 1 day one.
Yeah.
Single track. So that makes it easy.
I like single tracks. That's awesome. Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible when it's single track and when talks are just not good. You're not interested, and then you leave and never come back. But and I'm not talking about GitOps Summit, but in general, if you make a single track where talks are really well selected, that's to me so much easier than having 10 tracks and then trying to figure out, getting lost in schedule. Silly.
Yeah, I don't really understand how you do a happy hour at the end. It just doesn't make sense to me. But
I think it's more for mingling in Zoom or something like that.
I know, but still. This one looks pretty interesting. The one I hear a lot of chatter about Intuit, and
Yeah.
that one looks interesting. And then this one here from on using Flux, Helm, and OPA, based on everything else we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah. And Intuit, when you think of Intuit, basically you think of Argo. Probably like 95% of contributions to Argo is Intuit.
Didn't it come out of Intuit?
Intuit bought a company that started Argo projects. And then now it has people dedicated to those projects, open source, free, what's not.
Okay. I couldn't remember exactly what the history was. So that's coming up in where was it? I lost it again. June something? Yeah, I think it was
Something like that.
June 22nd is that one. So basically that week is CD Foundation days, if you will.
Yeah, it's kind of CD Foundation already decided that nobody's going to vacations this year.
Well, they're not wrong. Of course, one of the guys I know.
In normal times, I don't know about US, but in Europe, Okay, maybe June, yeah, but July and August nobody would make anything. And I thought that June is the vacation month in US.
No, not really. It's July,
Is it no?
sort of.
July. Okay,
July.
then I'm wrong.
But it's not the same thing because basically, depending on what you do and who you are, summertime is from the end of May until the beginning of September. But it's not like Europe where in August, all of Europe departs the cities and goes towards the not cities. Right?
It's
That's
not?
what happens. No.
Here it is.
That's what I'm saying. That's why in August, forget about talking to anybody in Europe.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. Which is
But
why
it's worse. For you, it's easy. You cannot talk with people from Europe. I cannot, if I'm not outside of Barcelona, I cannot shop. All the shops are closed. All the businesses are closed.
Right.
It's not kind of I'm on vacation, somebody else is keeping the store open. No. I close it.
Close. Yeah, no, I don't understand that. Like there's one restaurant we go to here, and they close down the week of the 4th of July every year. That's when everybody goes on vacation. It's run by a Greek family, so they actually go back over to Greece. Typically, they didn't last year or this year. Probably won't go this year either. But everybody's off they close on Friday before the 4th, and they reopen up on the Tuesday after the 4th. So it's 7 to 10 days, and they're just gone. And of course, what do I want to eat during that week? I want their food. And of course, they're closed. So I'm usually back in line as soon as they reopen. Okay. All right. So you've got all the videos coming out next week. I've got a lot of stuff through the day job coming out next week, which I'm still writing today, which is what I have to get back to now. And I guess that's it. I haven't even started editing the podcast for next week. It is an author podcast. We have somebody talking about Knative, sort of.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is.
It still is. And I haven't even looked at it yet other than loading it up in the editor to make sure everything's there. But that's what my weekend is loading that up. Are you going to get out any this weekend, or are you still locked down?
No, last weekend we could go, and now this weekend they locked us in again.
Oh.
I don't know how it's there. Here we have rules. You cannot go outside of the region or kind of the area.
That's not true here. We're Americans. We can do what we want, when we want, where we want.
And I have a gun to prove it. But it's annoying. What is happening is really that I think that Spain is very, very afraid that if it loses all tourism for second year, and this is the main income, it's going to be really bad.
Really bad. Yeah, I can't imagine. Because what is the main GDP driver for Spain, if not tourism?
Two things:
Okay.
tourism and real estate, which comes from tourists. So everybody's buying home in Spain, and everybody's coming to Spain for vacations. And now that's probably like 1/3 of GPA how do you call
GDP.
it? No, not GDP.
Yeah.
Now imagine what happens in COVID times.
I can't. Okay. And we won't use that name anymore. So to everybody that has been here with us live, thanks so much. Before you leave, if you are with us here live, go ahead and click on that thumbs up thing. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. For everybody watching on replay, thanks for hanging out with us for this hour. Be sure to check out the podcast. It comes out on Wednesday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. And we will see you again next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.